What kind of world do I want to live in? I think about this question a lot.
First step to understand is that we're all a part of it. None of us are going to be left out by the crisis.
We're at a stage where if we don't act now, really there won't be very much left.
There are generations that will never see certain things that we grew up seeing in real life.
We have to start treating this like the emergency it is.
Business leaders really need to rethink how they conduct their business and invest in creating systems that are climate friendly.
The action I would like to see is accountability. Structures being put in place where countries aren't just asked to do something, but they're kept accountable to the decisions that they make.
There has to be that strong collaboration between government, between corporations, between youth activists to drive change forward.
The world I would want to live in is a world where imagining the future is not a privilege.
The fact that you're listening today means that you are willing to make a change.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, and welcome to the formal launch of the First Movers Coalition. Some of you even joined us in Geneva a month ago, where we prepared this. And for us at the World Economic Forum, I'm Børge Brende, President of the World Economic Forum, and collaborating then with the State Department and key companies around the world. This is a very consequential day, and this is really walking the talk. Just imagine that the big companies of the world, the big purchasers, are sending such a strong signal by this initiative that in the future we'll buy stuff that has less of a carbon footprint, and we will also accelerate new technologies by this initiative, because it is not possible to reduce the carbon footprint without also introducing new solutions. So for us, this is really big, and thank you to all the CEOs that are here, but of course, a big thank you to Secretary Kerry for your leadership, also known as the President's special envoy to this. We will have a small dialogue with Kerry first, and then we'll also turn to the panel. Panel is great. We see Kara Hurst, Vice President at Amazon, on the left side. For you, we have Brian Monahan, CEO of Bank of America, also a great supporter, and Anna Borg, CEO of Vattenfall. And then we'll have a new panel, and we'll make the most out of the hour we have together. So, John, how do you feel about the initiative? It has come together in a very short time. We have more than 30 companies now in the First Movers Coalition.
34, to be precise, but who's counting? Borge, thank you to you and to the World Economic Forum. And Antonia, who was somewhere here, Antonia Gawal, who's done a great job of helping us. And also, on our side, Ambassador David Thorne and Varun Sivaram was over there celebrating Diwali. I'm not kidding you when I say this is one of the most exciting things and important things that's happening at this COP. And it is appropriate and not an accident that we're here in the middle of this industrial revolution building and steel mill to celebrate the green revolution that is really at hand. And it's here because there's a dynamic setting into this particular COP, and I've been to them going way back to the creation of 1992. This is different. It really is different. There's more energy, there's more focus, more sense of urgency than I've seen at any of these meetings ever. And there is a critical component, and you represent it. For the first time in a massive way, the private sector is at the table, and frankly, leading in the way that even some governments are not. But you're going to make this happen because there isn't enough money in any government in the world to effect this transition. It can only be achieved if this kind of initiative takes hold, and many times more, obviously. So you are genuinely first movers, every single one of you. You're pioneers in this transformational moment. And there are uncertainties. 50% of the emissions reduction that we will get between now and 2030 is, according to the economists and scientists, going to come from innovations that are not yet at scale, from technologies that are not yet at scale, that have to be brought to scale in order to get where we're going. And what the First Movers Coalition is achieving is the creation of markets. I mean, this is a big transformation. It's a big deal. I'm not trying to build something into something it isn't. But everybody I've talked to, when they learn about it, they say, wow, that makes sense. That's great. And all of you understood that instinctively and without arm twisting and super efforts. You're here and you've joined up. We're going to need to do this all across the economy and from region to region, hemisphere to hemisphere, continent to continent. But it can be done. And what we're doing very simply, as you know, Barbara, better than anybody, is in the first round of announcements, we're focused on shipping and steel, aviation and trucking. And in the next round, when we've done our due diligence over these next months, we bring in more first movers in the other difficult areas, aluminum and chemicals and so forth, for the second effort. And that is our hope to focus on between now and Davos. But this is such a simple proposition. Volvo says we're going to buy X percent, 10% of our vehicles going to be made with green steel. And so all of a sudden, people making green steel know, hey, there's somebody out there waiting to buy this. And we create this energy where the market says this is where things are going. Same thing with trucking or steel or shipping. Maersk says we're going to buy, well, first of all, they've ordered 8 new carbon-free propelled ships, which allow shipbuilders to say, you know what, there is a market there and we can begin to sell, and so forth for steel. You all get it because that's why you're here, so I don't need to belabor it. But the bottom line is exponentially, we get this going and cooking. I can't tell you exactly what the X factor is, but this is going to go X times faster than it would otherwise. And that's what we need. If we don't get enough reduction somewhere in the 45% range over the next 10 years, we are blowing by 1.5 degrees. And that's a hard target. It's not easy to achieve. Everybody knows that. So we need everything we can conceivably do. If we don't get that done in 2020 and 2030, not only do we blow by 1.5 degrees, but it's impossible physically, absent some miraculous discovery of direct air capture or something and utilization, to be able to achieve even net zero by 2050. And then, folks, we are really, I was going to say cooked, and literally we are, but we're in trouble, as you all know. And when you have Fatih Birol at the IEA telling us that to meet the goal, we're going to have to deploy renewables 5 times faster, and we're going to have to, transition out of coal 5 times faster, and so forth. You get a sense of the scale of this challenge. So bottom line, I want to can I say one other thing with respect to that?
Yeah, I will not stop you.
I could make a comment.
Go ahead, please.
We were foreign ministers together, and we did lots of things, including Borge took me up to Svalbard. Where I had a real eye-opener to the Arctic, and it was a wonderful trip, so we're very good friends. But what I wanted to say is that this transition, we yesterday, as you know, had a major announcement about the trillions of dollars. And thanks to Bank of America and Brian Moynihan and Finucane, who's here, who played a key role in helping to make it happen, we got other American banks, 6 of them came together to announce that over the next 10 years, they're going to deploy in this transition $4.16 trillion. And we worked with Mark Carney, and we have had the Global Alliance and the bank, the Asset Managers Alliance, the Asset Owners Alliance, et cetera, mounting up to this unbelievable over $100 trillion of assets. Deploying that is not easy, and we need your help. We absolutely need your help, because we still have to get over the hurdle of first risk, blended finance, bringing the MDBs to the table. It's going to be hard, and we've got to do that. We're going to handhold countries. We're going to target the 20 biggest economies in the world, which are responsible for 80% of all the emissions. And excuse me, that's where we have to go, because that's where the emissions are. And if we get Mexico and South Africa and Brazil and these other countries, Indonesia, to be able to help make that transition, that's the template for everybody else, and then it really takes off. So it's all linked, and I thank all of you profoundly for being part of this effort.
Thank you so much, John, Secretary Kerry. This could not have happened without your commitment and the hard work of your team too. It's incredible that we have now 34 companies that have signed up for this First Movers Coalition. And it is, as I said, very consequential. It's, of course, a chicken and egg discussion. It is creating a demand and supply. And Kara Hurst, Vice President, Worldwide Sustainability at Amazon. When Amazon decides to be part of this, I think that really shows that there can be created new demands in the future. And they better cater for the demands, huh?
Yeah, we're absolutely thrilled to be a part of this, and thank you for the opportunity, really, to bring us together. And I think we've all made a lot of commitments at Amazon. We've made a commitment to be net zero carbon by 2040 and establish a climate pledge, and we have over 200 companies that have now committed to that, which is absolutely wonderful. But what we need now is the action-oriented, hard-to-abate sectors to come together. And so we were really thrilled to see the First Movers Coalition go in that direction. We've made a commitment ourselves to our shipping commitment, and this has kind of had a history to it with our work with the Aspen Institute and COZEV. And I think it's also very important in that cargo owners net zero commitment to see the alignment between these kinds of initiatives, to bring them together and drive that really hard work in those sectors. We need to send those demand signals, those market signals. So we're happy to be able to do that.
Oh, you won't believe how thrilled we were when Amazon joined. Very important. Brian Moynihan, Bank of America, heard Secretary Kerry mentioning already the importance of the financial sector. You've also been a leader on the ESGs, but now you're also joining the First Movers Coalition.
Well, it was an honor when John asked us to help, and similar to Kara, we have a commitment to net zero. We have a commitment to, in our issues, our clients. In getting our clients converted. We're not that big a user of energy, but we brought that down. And so the question is, if our clients are going to be able to do this, there's going to have to be technologies and scale. And who's going to create that scale? It's the purchase power of the big firms. And when we say it's a just transition, it is a transition of our clients. That's where our $1 trillion of financing commitments over the next 8-9 years comes from, not from us. We can't do it unilaterally. So what was exciting about this, I think, was how John went to the thought process of the purchase power of the largest heavy users of heavy footprint companies, and getting them to start the ball downhill and start to do it. And so in our case, one of the things we do is we spend $30 billion on our talented people and $100 million on energy costs a year. So what can we do? We can have those $30 billion of people who fly all over the place and service all our clients out there travel and be offset with SAF. And so we basically started down the SAF pool. If we can get SAF scaled and get some mandates from the federal governments around the world, the governments, you can create a market. And that market then we can start to fill, but you got to start somewhere. So our agreement with Sky Energy and others to start to basically have every mile flown, every ounce of gas, kerosene used in a plane will be sustainable aviation fuels going in someone else's plane. And if all the service firms here agree to do that, that starts a market. Ultimately, all the consumers have to agree to do that with the passenger airlines, but we got to get the market started. So our commitment says are aligned that way, and then we're here to help everybody else make it. But the idea going from the users of the elements or the producers of the energy is so important, as opposed to coming at it from finance out. We can't do it unless the companies make the transition. We're here to help.
Thank you, Brian. Applause to you too. A lot to celebrate today. Anna Borg, Vattenfall, big energy producer in Europe. You were also part of it from the start. I think you were one of the first one signing up. So,
yes, the reason for us to join the First Movers Coalition is that I think that will really boost the shift of business models into sustainable green business models. And for us, it's very much about being competitive. We set out an aim a couple of years ago where we said that we should enable a fossil-free living. And that is not our sustainability strategy, that is clearly our business strategy. It means that we have committed to be on the 1.5 degree trajectory in the Paris Agreement, and we have also committed to be net zero 2040. That goes, of course, for our own operations, but also for everything we buy from our suppliers and what we provide to our customers in terms of products and services. So we have committed to three areas so far in this First Movers Coalition, and that is aviation, and trucking and steel. So I see this as a very important business topic.
It's a big deal.
Right. We have also some people that were not able to join us that sent some messages. Also Secretary Raimondo that were with us also initially. But do you want to comment on what the panel just said, or should we?
No, I think it really speaks for itself. I mean, it's exactly what I was talking about. I don't think I need to add more, but I really do thank you. And taking on 3 of those sectors is extraordinary. The one thing I actually might add is that the area of industry has kind of been an afterthought in the discussions for quite a few years, mostly because people were just struggling with the other areas of mitigation, adaptation, and so forth. But as we all know, industry is about 19% or so of the emissions, and it's the hardest, in many ways, the hardest thing. Everybody's saying, God, we're never going to get there with cement and concrete and steel. How do we do it? We'll save the details for the next round, except to say one of the folks who was with us in Switzerland was Jens Jenisch, who is the CEO of Lafarge Holcim. And he right here, my God, I didn't see you. I apologize.
You have the hard to abate, two hard to abate sectors there. We'll come back to the 2 gentlemen there.
Anyway, so we'll come back to you. But it's so exciting to now be penetrating these particular markets with cogent approaches. So thank you, all of you. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
Thank you, Cara.
Thank you. We'll watch a short clip with some messages, and then Anna, if you can stay on, and we'll do a little bit of change on the panel, but stay on for a second. Let's see if it works, the technology. Wow.
I don't want to wait 20 or 30 years to do something about the environment. I want to do something today.
It's easy to talk about reach this target in 2040 because I may not be here in 2040. Therefore, the question is, what are you going to do today that makes a difference?
To decarbonize the climate, we need additional innovations like electrification of whole manufacturing processes and like bringing green and sustainable hydrogen to bear at scale.
We all know governments can't solve climate change alone. We need strong participation from business to get the job done.
The private sector can and must play a much greater role. The purchasing power, the supply chains we are part of, if we mobilize, help each other create markets, we have a huge unlocked potential to help accelerate the decarbonization of the world.
Often, as a new technology comes up, it requires a faster ramp up. As you can achieve the faster ramp up, it provides a confidence for investments. That's where FMC comes into play.
Some of these technologies that are available today are 30-40% more cost effective than, for example, a diesel truck.
Transportation will increase, but it needs to be considerably more sustainable. Companies driving sustainable solutions for real will turn out to be winners, both when it comes to handing over a planet in good shape, but also when it comes to driving a good financial performance.
For last mile delivery, it will be electric vehicles. For long haul, it's probably hydrogen. For flying, it will be sustainable aviation fuel, which comes probably from power to liquid. And to scale them, you need commitment as a producer that there is demand. And I think that is coming from these initiatives.
We're convinced that this is the formula, the policies, the determination of government, plus the investment, the ingenuity, and the purchasing power of business that can help us turn the tide.
The green tech market is not only growing, in certain areas it's exploding. The driving force is to a large extent the capital markets and investors. We have just started on this journey.
The call to action for CEOs all over the world is to commit yourselves. Whether it is founded in a moral obligation, business opportunity, risk avoidance, commit yourself for a long-term science-based target on decarbonization. Be transparent about it and take forceful action now.
So we did a little bit of rearrangement here. We have two gentlemen, Sumant Sinha, CEO of Renew, that we all know, biggest renewable producer in India, and Rich Lesser, chairman of BCG, that also has been so instrumental in supporting us on this work with the First Movers Coalition. Maybe going to you, Sumant, first. We know that meeting the 1.5 degrees target will not be possible without a lot more renewables. As Secretary Kerry mentioned also, we have to increase 5 times. And you're really walking the talk in India these days. And we heard also Prime Minister Modi made a big pledge on this. So I guess First Movers Coalition fits well into that.
No, you're absolutely right, Borg. And you're right that India has actually embarked on a very ambitious plan to convert to renewable energy. And the Prime Minister laid out a vision saying that by 2030, 50% of India's electricity consumption would come from non-fossil fuel-based sources, which is a very significant and a fairly near-term commitment. And that will require us to set up almost 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity in the next 9 years. So that's a fairly significant target. Great for us, great for our business, of course, because that means there's tremendous growth. But the question really obviously is, there are challenges, there are issues around raising capital, there are issues around the distribution sector in India that has to be looked at. So there are a few challenges, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of that is going to get addressed. Now, the First Movers Coalition is something that we hadn't actually thought about deeply, because we thought that we're a renewable energy company, so we're already doing good as it is. So do we really need to do anything more than that? But then when we looked at it, we realized that this is a sector that is going to keep growing, and it's going to consume more and more materials ourselves. For example, steel, among other things, carbon fiber in wind turbines, steel structures for solar. And when you actually add all of that up, it comes to a fairly significant number as well. And when we looked at that, we realized that we also need to actually take a step above and beyond setting up clean energy and also join the First Movers Coalition and make the pledge of actually increasing the amount of, let's say, green steel that we are going to buy at a certain point in time. So that's really what we are also focused on. And our hope is that we are able to set an example for some of our customers as well for clean energy to also join the coalition eventually.
Thank you. Happy Diwali to you too.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Rich, you listen to the others. I think you're now devoting more and more of your time at BCG on the sustainability and on climate change.
So let me just start by saying how appreciative I am to Secretary Kerry, you and your team, to Borge, to you and the WEF for taking this on. And if I just tell just very briefly our story, when we committed to net zero a year ago, one of the things we said in our announcement, which was typically not said, is that we expected to pay a very high price for all the carbon, either in reduction efforts like sustainable aviation fuel or in removal in 2030. We put a price out there early because we wanted to signal that this is not going to be cheap and that we needed to be doing that, but also because our hope was it would be a forward signal to the market. For us, nearly 80% of our emissions come in our scope 3 from aviation, that we travel a lot. And we wanted to signal early that we were going to be ready to pay substantially for people that could help us to address what is our issue in becoming net zero. But at that time, we could make the commitment of what we were ready to spend, but we didn't know how we could deploy it in the most effective way to actually do it. And doing it as a one-off purchaser is really an inefficient way to do it. I mean, we travel a lot, but not so much that we could affect the whole aviation industry. And what you have created here is a platform that now all of us can use to really live up to our intent to be net zero, to spur the industry transformation that we need on these hard-to-abate industries, and to accelerate progress, but to do it in a really efficient way as a coalition of purchasers who are putting an opportunity out there for entrepreneurs and innovators and big companies who have technologies they want to scale, that we have your back, that if you can come up with stuff, we will be ready to sign up and to purchase it at a premium to the market, and to help you have the confidence to make big and bold and challenging investments. And it's just so important. And I think without your leadership, it's not that many of us wouldn't be wanting to do the right thing. It's that we were lacking a platform to do the right thing. And that we feel thrilled to have been able to contribute in the creation, to support you and your teams, but now equally important to be one of the founding partners. And I hope that it will be a platform that many, many of the CEOs in this room and all around the world will feel like this is a way to accelerate the technologies the world desperately needs to get on a net zero pathway.
And I was just reflecting on how much are the consumers willing to pay of a premium. You're also in a very competitive business where people can change the distributor. Are you already seeing a willingness to pay a little bit extra for green energy, or are you just going to roll these costs down to your supply chain?
Well, I actually think that there are several aspects to this. And the first one implies that it would be a greater risk to develop the sustainable business models than to stay in the existing ones. And I think that's a misconception. I think we're heavily underestimating the risk of staying in the existing business models because things are evolving. And the new business models will, in many cases, be developed cross industries and cross companies. And I will give you two examples of those kind of corporations that we are in. The first one is the hybrid initiative regarding fossil-free steel. And you said earlier, Secretary Kerry, that Volvo has committed to buy a certain percentage of fossil-free steel in their products, and they're also a part of this corporation. The hybrid initiative to produce fossil-free steel was initiated jointly by LKAB, the mining company, SSAB, the steel company, and Vattenfall. And we're already up and running. We're actually producing the world's first fossil-free steel. And here it is. This piece I actually got to borrow from Martin, who is the CTO of SSAB and is here today. And I had to promise to return it, which I understand, because it could possibly be the world's most precious metal. So this is actually happening as we speak. And the second example I would like to mention...
Martin, we have to see you. Where are you sitting?
The second example I would like to mention is something we actually launched only yesterday. That's a cooperation between Shell, between Scandinavian Airlines, Lanzatech and Vattenfall, where we aim to produce sustainable aviation fuel based on captured carbon and green hydrogen. So that's yet another example of what can be done now, not later.
That's huge.
Great. As I mentioned, we also have Jan Janic here, CEO of Holcim, world's largest cement producer. You were with us in Geneva. Thank you for joining. And I think you're already rolling your sleeves up to meet these obligations. Maybe 2 words from you, and then we'll go to Mr. Holsæter next to you.
Oh, thank you. It was a great inspiration, actually. And I understood that why you start with transport and logistics. First, I realized we are one of the biggest contractor for logistics. We have around 100,000 fully loaded trucks every single day of the year on the road. So I got a bit motivated to participate right from the start and make sure that our green procurement gets a bit more progressive and has the right targets for the suppliers and the right partnerships. We have just, together with one truck supplier, we have the first fully electric and autonomous trucks already operating in one of our quarries, factory sites in Switzerland, and we also have the first trucks for ready-mix concrete in operation also in Switzerland. And this is something I realized through the discussion. We need to scale much faster, and that's why I'm grateful to be part of the coalition.
Can I jump in? Since we're going there, I want you to get the full story. What fascinated me was you have customers now coming to you, not because you're making green cement, but because your cement is actually better than the cement before, correct? So that's, just describe for a moment. I think people would be fascinated by that.
We are from a very traditional business and usually asked by the customer to be cost efficient and everything. And I think now the demand from the customer has shifted a lot and they want green solutions. I think the people are aware of climate change and they want to make a difference. So we have launched our first global range of largely carbon-reduced products, cement or concrete, and they are in super high demand. And our own people didn't expect that, and that's a super encouragement for us.
But because the quality is better, correct? It's a different what's the word? Different outcome, basically.
But the quality is better in the way that we have high-performance product, but with a larger reduced CO2 footprint.
Right.
Yeah, and we can go into circular economy. We have already products with up to 50% recycled demolition waste. So we literally make a new building out of old buildings, and that has started. And super excited to go next step.
Very exciting.
No, thank you, Jan. We'll go to Svein Tore Holsæter, CEO of Yara, one of the large fertilizer producers in the world, and that's also one of the hard-to-abate sectors.
Thank you, and thanks, Secretary Kerry, for your leadership, and Børge for your leadership as well. And the First Movers Coalition is what I believe is exactly what is needed now. When I'm looking at the transition that we're making in Yara, we're then converting production of fertilizer to renewable energy and using electrolyzers to produce green hydrogen. The size of that project is equal to the combined installed capacity of electrolyzers in the world to date. So that's a large project that will drive scale. And then it's about, for us, we don't need a first mover's advantage, but we'd like to be at least first movers neutral, because that project creates scale. And by launching the First Movers Coalition now, you're creating a marketplace, and which in turn will create scale and drive down costs. So we're really excited about this.
Great.
If I might add one other benefit that we will get from this is not only are we able to produce green fertilizer, but green hydrogen, green ammonia that can be used for shipping, so that you have a fossil-free fuel for ships, and then together with companies like Maersk, we can really make a difference. So.
That's great. Very good.
Thank you. We also have Trafigura has joined us. They're here with their CEO, Jeremy Ware. We will hear 2 words from Jeremy too.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Borge. Thank you, the World Economic Forum, Secretary Kerry, for the leadership for the First Movers Coalition. We at Trafigura are very proud to be part of this coalition. Through this process, we've committed to purchase and operate 6 ammonia carrier vessels and convert them to use low-carbon ammonia as its primary fuel source by 2030 if technology permits. This does represent roughly 18% of the vessels we own. Talk about if technology permits, we are actually, our intention is to use man engines. They're ammonia engines, marine engines, 2-stroke marine engines that are developing at the moment. We are co-sponsoring the development of those engines, and we expect they're on track to be available for new marine engines by 2024 and retrofitting existing internal combustion engines by 2025. So we're very confident we can meet these targets, and we're very proud to be part of this initiative. Thank you.
Great, Jeremy. We have Andrew Forrest, also CEO of Fortescue, behind there. Andrew, great to see you here, and thank you for joining the coalition.
Thank you. Look, we believe in learning by doing, so we are at this point, we have fully commissioned the ship's engine on green ammonia. It's only a bit smaller than the height of this room, but we've bought a full-scale engine. It's 13 metres high, and we're set to commission that on green ammonia as well as our first ship on green ammonia. We'll be doing that within months, not decades, months. And we've done the same thing with locomotives. We're running a locomotive on green ammonia and our big trucks on green hydrogen as we speak, and we are trying to put together a coalition of green hydrogen intenders and producers to produce around 200 million tonnes of green hydrogen, so that we can really start to interrupt the energy balance, give the world for the first time a real choice away from fossil fuels. We think it'll take about the critical mass of 200 million tonnes of green hydrogen to achieve that. I mean green, not any other colour, and I think that's feasible. There's projects all around the world with companies like mine who can make that happen if we pull together.
Then we'll have a last intervention here from Feike Sibasma, Chair of Philips, and then we'll go back to the panel.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Borge, Secretary Kerry. Very much appreciate for this initiative. I would like to make a combination and an alliance, so to say, between an alliance and a coalition, and that's the CEO Climate Leadership Alliance, of which many of you are also members. 125 companies being progressive on climate, in reducing emissions, in being transparent, in embracing carbon pricing. And that alliance can very much collaborate with this coalition, having the same goals on climate. Rich and others are in that leadership as well, together with me. And I would like to say very much welcome this collaboration.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I'll go back to the panel. Anyone want to comment? Rich?
I'll say 2 things. One, Feike, thank you for speaking up. The Alliance of CEO Climate Leaders, with you and Christian Mumenthaler and Jesper Broden of Swiss Re and IKEA, and the role that this group is trying to play to encourage both the boldest action in the private sector and learning from each other and collaborating, as well as policy shaping and providing input to governments, has really been It's been an incredible experience to be a part of, and I think many of the CEOs who have been a part of it feel that way. So if you're not, thank you, Feike, for saying that. I want to make just one other point, which is right now, signing up for this is a commitment and a responsibility, and it's the right thing to do to try to accelerate progress in the world. But I do believe, and we're seeing this already on many climate elements, we're on an S-curve right now. And what feels like a commitment with a cost today, we are likely to be in a place with all the commitments we are all making, the way that emissions are going to be tracked more and more closely by society, by regulators, by others in the years to come, to find that many of these technologies, which today feel like you've got to pay a premium, there will be scarcity in the years ahead. We see it in plastic recycling right now, or coming soon. I think we're going to see it in sustainable aviation fuel with all that's coming. And so as you're debating whether to be a part of this, put the other scenario on where actually being early in, to be signing contracts, to be making commitments, could actually turn out to be a benefit versus those of your competitors who are on the spot markets later trying to buy this because they have to live up to their commitments, and the cost, and there is not quite enough supply to meet demand by the time we get to 2030. And I think that we need to think about that as part of our equations, even if the main reason to join right now is because it's the right thing to do and because it will accelerate the growth of technologies that the world really needs.
Thank you.
So, Rich's point, very important point, but I also would like to ask all of you to be ambassadors, all of this effort. You come in contact with a lot of people. You can constantly open their eyes and minds to other options. And so I really think you could become a very, very powerful force. So you are all deputized, fully authorized. Go for it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. We'll have two short comments from Sumant and then from Anna. And then since it's Diwali, we'll have 1 minute also from Singhi here, representing Dalmia, also cement company from India. And then we'll have to wind up. Everything good has to end. And you know, sometimes it's also good to end when people want the show to go on. That's something both John and I learned from politics. So, okay.
Yeah. So look, I think I'll just make two very quick points. I think the first one is the point that, Rich, you were talking about. You're absolutely right. Right now, if you take positions, perhaps you're in a better position later on as other companies go to the spot markets and so on. But I think there's going to be a second benefit as well. Even though you commit to something that may be more expensive right now, markets may actually reward you in terms of better valuations, better commitment towards ESG and so on. So even from a commercial standpoint, from the other lens, it might actually be the better thing to do as well. So I think that is something that I think will evolve as we go forward. The second point is that I think one of the things that is going to happen is that there will also be a lot of interrelationships that are developed between companies of this First Movers Coalition as well. And I think one of the things I would certainly encourage and suggest and request is that between all of us, there need to be a lot of interactions, because I think we can actually do a lot of exchanges of information. Some of us will be suppliers to others. We'll be downstream industries or upstream industries of the others, and we can actually contribute to each other, I think, quite well as well, in terms of creating the coalitions and the networks that are required to actually, adopt carbon-free technologies much better. So I think that is something that definitely, as you go forward, is something that we should definitely think about.
Anna?
To me, this is very much about competitiveness and building the business models of tomorrow. I want to emphasize again, I think the largest risk is to not transform. And I think that's heavily underestimated. The customer demand will change so much faster than the industrial processes. And I think that, to be early might be challenging, but to be too late will be devastating.
It's such a powerful point. If you look at the 10 largest companies in the world today by market cap, 7 out of the 10 did not exist 20 years ago. So if you're not part of the First Movers Coalition, you might see yourself not as a competitive company in the future. So very short, Singhi, Mahendra, Dalmia Cement, India.
Thanks to Senator Kerry and team, thanks to Borge and team. I think the first mover, which we were earlier started from 2014, has really made the difference, and that's why it motivated us to be part of First Mover Coalition. And like what Mr. Sumant Sinha said, I would say all these companies should give preference to these partners of First Mover Coalition to supply green product, to supply. Like I was talking to SSAB that can I import steel for India, and they said yes, it may take time, but then yes, we would like to do that, and we are fully committed. We have already started now procuring electric trucks, and we are very hopeful that we are now converting this hard to abate sector to possible to abate cement sector, and by 2040 it will be a fully green cement. And at the end, let me wish all of you a happy Diwali, and for us, happy Diwali means a festival of light, festival of clean life, festival of happiness. But in India, we just don't wish that, but we do celebrate it with some sweets. So can I take the liberty of offering sweet to you, sir?
Okay. While you're offering the sweets, I would like to go back to Kara Hurst.
It's a tested one.
Yeah.
Security.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We will have to wrap up this.
Thank you. But I think we're taking too long here. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me shortly, Kara, if you're available, see you behind there. You listen to also this panel, all the comments from the others. I think many of them are your suppliers too, aren't they? So they have to be ready.
Certainly, it's really exciting to see this rapid transformation. I couldn't agree more that we need this to happen. So as a customer of a lot of your products, I think we're really excited. We're the largest corporate purchaser of renewable energy in the world. We need more of it. We want to invite our other companies that are looking for cement solutions, steel solutions. As we think about the impact that our industries are having, we need these products and services. So we'll continue to send our demand signals. We'll involve as many companies as we can to join us in that, and we're excited to see the revolution and the innovation begin and to carry it forward. So thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you. Well, a big thank you to Kara and Amazon. This shows really how impactful this is, John.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very exciting. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. I mean, I've said it again and again. The worst thing is to beat it to death. We know what we're doing. We know what we have to do. You all are the most energized and focused in all of this world. We need to fill this place up, several thousand times over very quickly. So let's go do it.
Thank you. And rest assured, and again, big thank you to you, John, and to your team. This would not have been possible without your personal leadership, and I know how committed you are to this. I saw it when we traveled together at Svalbard in the Arctic, and we saw the glaciers melting, and you launched Ocean Conference, as Secretary of State, and the way the President also has engaged, U.S. entered the Paris Agreement again, the $11 billion that President put on the table during the summit this spring, but also all the things that the U.S. have delivered during this meeting has been so important, and we know you're instrumental in all this. And to all of you, we will also in Davos again come together as a coalition. By then, I hope we are not 34, but more than 50 coalition partners. So the snowball effect in Davos, don't underestimate that. So thank you so much.
Well done, man.
Dissipates, I'd just like to invite all of our founding members to come on the stage for a photo.